Good morning or good evening. Welcome to English 102, that is English for Academic Writing. In this recorded lecture, we will cover topic number 1, report writing. Now, if you don't have these files in front of you, the PowerPoint presentation and the Word documents, please visit your Google Classroom, go to classwork, and download them from the tab lecture materials. Please don't begin this lecture without obtaining these files. Okay, now let's look at the PowerPoint first, and let's have a lead-in activity together. Okay, now look at this graph. Look at these graphs. Okay, take 2 minutes. So you will need to pause the video. Take 2 minutes and try to match the name of these in the table with each one in the graph. Okay, so pause the video, take 2 minutes, and match the label with the correct graph. Okay, now assuming that you paused the video and did that, so let's do this together now. Okay, all right, so number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So number 1 is called line graph. Okay, line graph. Number 2 is pie chart. Number 3 is bar chart. And for number 3, bar chart can be horizontal or it can be vertical. Okay, both are correct. And number 4, it's self-explanatory. This is a table. Okay, now let's go to activity number 1 and let's try to do this together. Now go and open your Word document. You will see a list of activities here. We will begin with activity number 1. Now, we will still work with the same graphs. So look at the graphs, then look at these sentences. Okay, these are introductory statements. And this is the first paragraph feature of report writing. You will need to match the sentences with the charts. Okay, so take 3 to 4 minutes, or up to 4 minutes. Pause the video. Take 2 to 3 minutes, and then do it by yourself. Okay, now let's suppose that you did that, and let's do this together. Okay, so let's look at the first sentence here. The table reports on the rising number of new in-training teachers. Now we have the table, so it points to number 4, right? So this is number 4. But it's not enough just to identify the type of the chart. Let's understand what the sentence tells us about the chart. Reports on the rising number. Okay, the rising number. So let's look at the numbers. Do they actually go up or not? So we have here in the table, we have the years on the left column, and we have the numbers of new teachers each year on the left column, on the right column. Now, in 2007, we started with 16,500. Then it went down to 15,500, so it went down by 1,000. But then it increased to 17.6, and then by 1,000 in 2013, and then by approximately 2,000 teachers by 2017, and then it declined a bit by 2019. So generally speaking, the number went up. So the rising number of new in-training teachers. Okay, so the sentence correctly reports on the trends here. Okay, the pie chart shows international students' choice for studying in an English-speaking country. So yeah, this is also correct. So we're gonna match it to number 2. The bar graph, so that is number 3, and we do the same thing. It's the same idea. So we check if the introductory statement reports accurate information about the chart. Okay, and the line graph explains the increasing number, again, increasing number. As you can see the line graph here, it goes up all the way, all right? Okay, so this is activity number 1, okay? Now, and on the same document, you want to scroll down. You want to scroll down to activity number 2, okay? We're still working with the same graphs. So look at the graphs, and now instead of just looking at them broadly, we want to identify the data inside each in each graph. Okay, now the highest point, we have the highest point, we have the mid-range point of the graph, and we have the lowest point. So take about 4 to 5 minutes and try to look in each graph. Identify the numbers, okay? So pause the video and go ahead and do that. Okay, now assuming that you did that, let's take a look together at the charts. So let's begin with the line chart. Let's take a look at the highest point. So I'm going to zoom in so it becomes easy for you and me. Okay, now the highest point here, it says 40%, but if you look closely, it's not actually exactly 40%. It's almost like 38%. That is in 2015. So that's the highest point. So we're going to go ahead and write 38%. Okay. Now the mid-range or the midpoint of the graph here is between the year 2000 and 2005. So it's not exactly 20. It's not exactly 30, and neither is it 25. So it's somewhere in between. So we'll have to approximate this to 27%. Okay, 27%. The lowest number, or the lowest percentage in the case of this graph, I know here it says, you see here the axis says 15, but it's not actually 15 in the year 1990. It's a little bit above 15%. So we'll have to approximate that to 17%. Okay, so this is the line graph. Now the pie chart is straightforward actually. Look at the pie chart. You have 39%, 31%. Okay, so it's easy to discern. Easy to discern the highest and the lowest numbers. Okay, so we have the mid-range. Let's say it's 15%, and New Zealand is 4%. Okay, now let's take a look at the bar graph. Again, it's better to zoom. Okay, so you have full-time education. That's obviously the highest one. It's not 300,000 though. It's a little more than 300,000. So maybe we can say, so this is 100,000. This is like half the 100. So, and from 300,000 to, we'll take this little piece right here. So maybe this is 325,000. Okay. And we have the mid-range. In employment, this is a bit tricky because all of these categories right here, all of these groups are very close to each other. So we'll have to pick the one that is relative to full-time education. Okay, so in employment is the most relative one as a mid-range trend or piece of data. Okay, so let's say 100K. And of course, the lowest one, the smallest data here is other education and training. So we'll say it's 50. Sorry, it's 15,000, 50,000. Okay. Now we don't have to work so hard with charts like tables and pie charts. They're straightforward. So the highest point is 20,000. Okay. 20.4 thousand, and the mid-range. Okay, so some students said it's 18,000. Some of them said it's 17,000. I'll go with 17,000.3, 0.6, sorry. So that is, I think, the best middle ground that we can have here. And the lowest one is 15.5K. Okay, so check your answers, and yeah, try to have answers close to this. Okay, now let's go back to the presentation slide. Why are we doing this, by the way? We want to learn how to read the graphs so we can write a report on it, right? But why are we looking at the numbers? Well, let me show you a sample that will explain to you why we're doing this. Okay, now if you okay, look at this line chart. We have two paragraphs. We have description A and we have description B. Okay, take a second, take maybe 2 to 3 minutes to read everything here and ask yourself which one better describes the line chart, A or B, and why. Okay, so pause the video, read everything, decide, and try to explain your answer to yourself or maybe to a colleague if you're doing this with a person. And yeah, come back here in a jizzy. Okay, now let's do this together now. We have description A. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. They're reflected in description A, correct? And the graph shows the percentage of graduates in the UK between 1990 and 2017. Look at here. Look here. 1990, 17% of the population, and then this rose to 20% in 1995, and 25% in 2000. In 2005, it went up to 29%, and so on. So it tries to squeeze as many numbers as possible in a single paragraph. If this is a long paragraph in a more detailed report, this will be daunting. This will be difficult and maybe frustrating to read. Why? Because it puts a lot of numbers. It doesn't say much, and it doesn't explain. It only tells you what the numbers are. And you just did that, right? You just did that here. But the purpose of the report is, of course, to understand the numbers here, okay? But also explain how they change in the graph, okay? So it's not about only telling the reader what the numbers are, but also it's about explaining. And this is what description B does. Let's take a look at B. The graph shows an upward trend in the percentage of graduates in the population between 1990 and 2015. So it explains. It doesn't describe. It doesn't only tell you that this is the number and this is the line chart. What the line chart is about, but it's trying to explain how the line chart changes throughout the period. The percentage rose gradually throughout the period. It increased by about 3 to 5% every 5 years. For example, and it gives you one example. It actually uses one instance from the line chart, but here it squeezes a lot of instances, a lot of examples from the line chart. So you see, the purpose of the report is to, number one, understand the numbers. This is for yourself, understanding the numbers for yourself. But the second one is to explain the numbers to the reader. And you want to write like B, you don't want to write like A. Okay? All right, so let's go to the second paragraph feature of report writing. we'll do something now called the overview. Okay. Now, look at this line chart and try to explain what's going on with the data here. Okay. Now, we have three classes: the working class, the middle class, the upper class. And we have here the topic: how much people spend on petrol in the UK in 2019. You see the numbers here. These are not percentages. These are a currency. So we have £1 million, £2 million, £3 million, £4 million, £5 million, £6 million. Okay. And we have three classes of people. We have the working class, the middle class, and the upper class. What's going on with these three classes in with regards to how they spend their money in 2019? So try to explain what's going on here and think about these questions. Okay? Use these questions to think about the graph. So I'll give you 5 to 6 minutes to do this. Take notes, by the way. Take notes of each question that you do. And when you finish, we'll do this together. So take 5 to 6 minutes. Okay. So let's suppose that you did that. So let's do this together now. Okay. So can you see an overall increase, decrease, or fluctuation in the line chart? Increase is going up, decrease is going up, down, fluctuation going up and down at the same time. Okay, this is what fluctuation means, going up and down all the time. All right. So overall, we're looking broadly speaking here. So we're looking at things broadly. So we'll have to say that overall, there is an increase of spending among the working and the middle class, okay? Except for the upper class that ends up spending less, okay? All right, so let's go to number 2. Can you see high or low points of the chart? Indeed we can. So we have the working class. That's like £500,000 of spending in the beginning, and we have the middle class by the end. That's £4 million. By the way, let's put the curves to that. Okay, and also we have also the upper class. That's also £4 million. All right. Okay. Are there any significant changes between the three classes? Let's take a look at the working class right here. See here, they started from £500,000 in the beginning of the year, but they increasingly spend more and more on petrol until by the end they ended approximately here. So 2.9. So let's approximate that and say £3 million. So the amount of spending tripled. Is 3 times as much as the middle class and obviously the upper class. So we'll have to say that the working class spend 3 times as much as the middle class, while, okay, so the middle class spent only 1 million. No, spent only 1 million. So they spent 3 million to 4. So yeah, that's spent 1 more million pound, and the upper class actually spend less. Okay, from 4 to 3 million pounds. Okay, million pound. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look at number 4. Are there any similarities between the three classes? We can say at some point the three classes spend relatively the same at around 3 million pounds. Okay, we're just taking notes, by the way. We're not actually writing here. Okay, so these are my notes. We don't need number 5. We can just slash that. Okay, so again, don't worry about grammar or spelling. These are notes. Okay, so now let's go back to the presentation slide and let's see what the overview looks like in practice. Okay. Okay. All right. So look at these two overviews. Which one is correct? And give yourself 3 minutes. Pause the video, and yeah, and come back here in due time. Okay, let's say that you did that. So which one is correct? Is it A or is it B? Okay. You see, the reason why we did this is to understand the graph in general. Not in details, but in general. Yeah. But the way we write the overview is different from the notes we have taken, because our notes help us understand the overview, nothing more. We don't include the details that we looked at. So let's take a look at overview A and then B. Okay. Overall, the working class showed the lowest spending at the beginning, but slowly increased. Let's check. Is this correct with regards to the graph? The working class showed the lowest spending. Yes, they did. They are the lowest, but slowly increase. And they did increase over the year. The upper class spent the most at first. Yes, that's correct. See here, they spend 4 million in the beginning of the year, but its spending decreased over time. That is correct. Decreased by 1,000, by a million, we can say. In contrast, the middle class spent moderately in the beginning. That is true, yeah, but ended with the highest spending at the end. So yeah, so they spend 1 more million, which made them the highest spending class. All right, so A is correct, but let's take a look at B and see what's wrong with it. Overall, the working class consistently spend the most on petrol. Is this correct? Is this correct? No, it isn't, right? Why? Because it doesn't show in the graph. So it doesn't, the working class doesn't spend the most in the beginning, or neither do they spend consistently the most throughout the year. They're the lowest in the beginning, but then their spending is the most, yeah, but they're not like here on top. Okay, so the upper class showed the lowest. The upper class, it's not the lowest, right? So this gives you factually inaccurate information, so wrong information. All right, wrong information. So why we did this is to understand the graph, generally speaking, and to understand how the numbers change. Where do they go? Where do they start? Where do they go? what are the significant changes between the groups, and so on and so forth. So we can write something like A, and of course avoid something like B, because when we don't understand the graph, we might commit commit this error like with B. But if we do understand the graph, we will write like overview A. Okay. All right. So let's go now and take a look at a report writing sample. This is in activity number 4. So if you're still in activity number 3 in the Word document, you'll need to go down a bit and you'll find activity number 4. Okay. All right. So this is an actual report. This is a sample, and this is how it looks like in practice. So far, we've taken a look at the introductory sentence. That is an activity number 1. Then we prepared for the overview. We looked at how the changes in the graph and all of that. That is an activity number 3. And for activity number 2, we looked at the description of the data. So we tried to understand the lowest point, the highest point, how we think about the changes in the graph, and so on, and so forth. So yes, the purpose of the report is to explain the changes in the graph's data. Okay, now we need to identify these features. Where can you find the introductory sentence? Where do you find the overview? Okay, where do you find it? Here in the report. Where is the description of the data? Here. Okay, so give yourself up to 5 minutes. Of course, pause the video. Do it alone. If you are with a person next to you doing the same activity, maybe you can check together when you finish. Yeah? Okay, so pause the video, 5 minutes, and here you go. Okay. Let's do this together now. I'm not gonna copy and paste. I'm gonna use a highlighter instead. Okay, so that's why I highlighted each feature with a distinct color. Okay, the introductory sentence. When you see the word introductory, you always think of something that comes in the beginning, and if you think like that, or you think as such, then you are correct. Think about the introduction in an essay, or an introductory paragraph in a chapter, or an introduction chapter in a book. All of these words, introduction, introductory, chapter, all of that, they always come in the beginning. So the sentence here comes at the beginning. Okay, so let's highlight it in yellow, and we have the overview. Now, what is the difference between the introductory sentence and the overview? Well, the introductory sentence tells us about the graph in general. What is it about? What does it say? What data it shows, and so on and so forth. Okay. By contrast, the overview tells you how the changes in the data occur or happen. Okay. It tries to explain to you briefly, without jumping or delving into details about the trends and the changes in the data. All right. And yeah, so this is the difference between the introductory sentence and the overview. So the overview is always here, often here, not always, often here. Okay. You can actually take it from the beginning and put it right here. This is optional, by the way. If you're comfortable with writing the overview at the end, then this is fine. But usually we do it in the beginning. We put it with the introductory sentence. So that makes one paragraph, okay? But if you want to do it at the end, make it look like a conclusion in a report, then feel free to drop it down, okay? But we're gonna stick to having it up. All right, and you see here the entire paragraph, the description of the data. If you recall, we looked at description A and B. So this is an entire paragraph, just like description B. Okay, there is a small change in the middle period, and it tries to explain. It doesn't tell you in 1990 there's 10% of recent graduates, but it tries to explain to you the movement of the data. So let's highlight everything here and can do gray. Okay. All right. So make sure that you have the same outline highlighted, or at least copied and pasted here. Okay. Now we want to study this paragraph even further. So we did the introductory statement and then the overview. We want to learn how we can use accurate language, correct language, that is verbs and phrases, to describe and explain the data in this paragraph, which is the description paragraph. Okay. Let's go to activity number 5, and we have two parts of for this activity. Look at the words and look at the arrows here. One arrow is pointing down and one arrow is pointing up. And you need to decide if each word is a verb, a noun, or both. Okay? So take 3 minutes. Again, pause the video and do it alone. And if you are with somebody who's studying with you, watching this video, maybe you can check together when you're done. And yeah, come back here in a second. Okay, let's say 3 minutes have passed. Let's take a look at decline. Decline means going down. Okay. Decrease means also going down. Drop means going down. Fall means going down. So all of these words, they mean the same thing, going down. Okay. So let's decide if each one is a verb or a noun or both. Okay. So when we say there is a decline and we say something declines, so a decline here is a noun, but here is a verb. So we can say both, right? The same thing. There is a decrease, and we say something decreases. So again, both. Okay? We can say there is a drop and something drops. Again, that's both. We don't usually say there is a fall, but it's acceptable. Usually you say something falls. Okay, so both. Let's take a look at growth. Growth is going up. Okay, grow is also going up. Increase going up. Rise going up. Okay, growth is a noun. So we can say there's a growth in the number of students, for example, okay? Or we can say here, grow, which is the verb, we can say the number of students has grown, if talking about the past, so it's a verb, okay? Increase, something increases, and we can say there is an increase. So both. There's a rise and something rises, both, okay? So make sure that you have the same answers. And let's go down to the second part of activity number 5, okay? Look at the table here. You've seen this in activity number 1 and 2. And look at these words. We're still working with the same verbs and nouns, okay? use the correct word to describe the numbers here. Okay, so I'll give you 4 minutes to do this. Again, pause the video, take your time with it, and come back here when you're done. Okay. All right, let's suppose that you did that. All right, so the idea is to use the words here to describe the numbers, either as a verb or as a noun. So the number of new entrants to primary teaching, let's, over the last 10 years, let's see the table here, 16, 15, 17, 18, 20, and then 19. So broadly speaking, has increased or has grown. We can use any verb, we can say has grown, increased, risen. We don't I don't like to use risen, so I'm just gonna take it out. So has grown or has increased over the last 10 years. Okay. You can also use grew. Okay, if you want, but let's have just two answers, either this or that. There was from 2007 to 2009. Let's take a look at the number. There is so from 16,500 to 15,500. So that there was a decrease. Okay. There was a study from 2009 to 2015. 15, 17, 18, 20. So there was a study. Let's say rise. There is a steady rise in the numbers. Okay. Number 4, the numbers again this year in 2017. So it doesn't explicitly say 2017 here. It refers to the year by this year, as if you're living in 2017. What a good year that was. Anyway, so the numbers, we can say fell or dropped. We can say decreased as well, okay? Again in 2017. And number 5 is overall training programs saw, see here, this is the overview. Overall, broadly speaking, I'm not, like the writer isn't talking about details here, isn't talking about the numbers inside in each year. Okay, so overall training programs saw 16, 15, 17, 18, 20. So we can say saw a rise. We can also say an increase. Remember, this is a noun here. Only to what happened to it after 16. Only to fall, drop, decline. We can say decline. Yeah, slightly this year. Yeah. So it doesn't matter which verb you use or which noun you use, as long as it correctly and accurately describes the numbers and the table. So bear that in mind when you're writing and when you're thinking about the numbers in any given chart. Okay, now let's go to the last activity right here, and let's see number 6. Okay. All right, so we're working with the pie chart this time. So we're done with the table. Now we're doing the pie chart. And if you recall, this is 100% of students' choice or preference to study studying in an English-speaking country. So these students want to study in these 5 countries, but this 100% is split disproportionately, as you can see here, between the US and the UK. So 39% is for the US, 31% is for the UK, 15% is Australia, Canada 12%, and New Zealand is 4%. Okay. How do we describe these numbers? Look at these phrases. We looked at the verbs. If you go up, we looked at the verbs. We learned how to use them to describe the numbers. Now we want to describe the same numbers using these phrases. Okay. Now, let's take a look at over a third. So what does that mean? If we have 100%, third of that is 33.3%, right? Yeah, here we go. Okay. So in the graph here, if I ask you, what is over 33%? It's the US, right? So the US is over a third. Okay. Now, what is a little under a third? Look at the UK, it's 31%, and it's below 33. So it's a little, not not by a large margin, but it's a little under a third. So we're gonna take that and put it in the UK. The lowest number of students, New Zealand, right? It's just 4%. Poor New Zealand. Okay, about 1 in 10. So this is a bit tricky, maybe for some people, but here we have 15 and we have 11, so 10. So which is closer to this phrase? Canada or Australia? It's Canada, right? So imagine you have 100 students, okay? So 10 students, 10 groups, 10 students, right? And every 10 students, there's one student here who says, I want to study in Canada. Okay, so every 10, every one group, or forget about the groups. So in every 10 students of this 100, there's one student who says, I want to study in Canada. All right, so about 1 in 10. So we are making it closer to 11%. So here we go. We're gonna take that and put it under Canada. All right, so just under a sixth. This is also another tricky phrase. We said that third is 33.3%, right? Now a sixth is actually half a third. So it's around 16.1 or 2%. I'm gonna go with 2. 16.2%. Up, okay, approximately. You know, I'm estimating here, but 16% is 100%. I'm sure of it, right? So what is just under 16% here? Australia, right? So 16%, sixth. So just under a sixth. All right, just under a sixth. The most popular country, that honor goes to the U.S. And this the country in second place, that goes to the U.K. And the least popular country, I'm sorry, New Zealand, today is not your day. So the least popular country. Okay, so just double check your answers, and yeah, I think we've come to the end of the lecture. So in this lecture we covered 3 paragraph features, and we looked at how to read the graphs. We said that in the introductory sentence, it should give the reader an idea about what to expect in the graph. The overview, it explains the changes and the movement of the data, generally speaking, without going into details. And also the description of the data. This paragraph is where all the changes, all the movements, and the trends, are detailed, are given, or are written in details. So yeah, this is it. Now we can try and practice writing the overview yourself and the description of the data, and hopefully you'll get the hang of it. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, thank you so much. And yeah, have a good one and take care out there.